Let me ask you something that sounds simple but isn't. If I told you that you could either save 20,000 rupees a month or earn 20,000 rupees more a month, which one actually makes you richer? Most people say it doesn't matter. 20,000 is 20,000. Money is money. Here's the short version before we get into why. In the short term, saving wins. In the long term, earning wins. And almost everyone applies this in the wrong order, which is exactly why they stay stuck for years. The reasoning behind this is where the real value is today. And there's a twist near the end that will change how you look at both these choices. Let's get into it. Let's start with a number that surprises almost everyone. If you're earning enough to sit in the top tax slab above roughly 2 lakh rupees a month, saving 20,000 rupees costs you exactly 20,000 rupees. But earning that same 20,000 extra costs you almost 9,000 rupees in tax and cess because the government takes its share before you ever see the money. To actually walk away with 20,000 rupees in hand, you'd need to earn close to 29,000 rupees. That's the government's 30% tax slab plus the 4% cess every taxpayer pays on top. Saving 20,000 needs exactly 20,000. Earning that same amount at the top slab needs almost 45% more. But here's the catch most people never add to this math. That 30% slab only kicks in once your taxable income crosses about 24 lakh rupees a year. If you're earning less than that, this gap is smaller than it sounds. And for a lot of middle-class earners today, it barely applies at all. Take Rohit, 28 years old, works in marketing in Bengaluru, take-home salary of 80,000 rupees a month. Take-home already has things like Provident Fund taken out of it, so his actual gross salary works out closer to 11 lakh rupees a year. Subtract the standard deduction from that gross figure and his taxable income still comfortably falls under 12 lakh rupees. And under the current tax rebate rules, that means Rohit pays close to zero income tax on his salary. So the heavy tax bite we just calculated isn't really Rohit's problem. His problem is something else entirely. Rohit wants to invest 20,000 rupees a month to build a corpus, so he does what every finance video tells him to do. He cancels his subscriptions, he stops ordering food, he takes the bus instead of a cab. No more weekend outings with friends. And it works. He hits his 20,000 rupee target right on schedule. Here's the part nobody talks about. Within 2 months, Rohit is exhausted, not physically, mentally. He's short with people in meetings, he says no to a good opportunity, not because it's bad, but because he doesn't have the mental bandwidth left to evaluate it properly. His work is quietly suffering. This isn't Rohit being weak. Behavioral economists have studied this for decades. It's called decision fatigue. Every time you stop yourself from ordering food, every time you compare grocery prices, every time you talk yourself out of a cab, you spend a small amount of mental energy. Do that 10 times a day and by evening you have nothing left for the decisions that actually move your income, like learning a new skill or asking for a raise. And that's exactly why saving isn't as free as it first looked. It costs no tax, but it isn't free of cost. It's just a cost that never shows up on a bank statement. Now here's where it gets worse for the saving argument. Saving has a flaw. You can cut food delivery, you can cut subscriptions, you can downgrade your phone plan, but eventually you hit rent, electricity, and the basic cost of simply existing in a city. There's a number below which you cannot go no matter how disciplined you are. And that flow doesn't stay still. The Reserve Bank of India targets retail inflation at around 4% a year with a 2% band on either side. That means the cost of your basic life keeps climbing quietly every single year. Rohit can grind his lifestyle down to the bone right now, but in 5 years, that same bare-bones lifestyle will cost more than it does today, and he'll be back where he started. We're still answering the same question. Here, saving starts losing ground. So let's flip to the other side. What happens if Rohit tries to earn that 20,000 rupees instead of saving it? This is where people get nervous because earning feels harder. It needs a new skill, a side hustle, a raise. Saving just needs a decision you repeat. Earning needs something you build. But earning doesn't have a ceiling. Rohit can only cut expenses so far before he hits the floor. There's no equivalent upper limit on what he can eventually earn. One freelance client can become two can become a small team. Saving caps out, earning compounds. Now, if Rohit earns that extra money through freelance work instead of his salary, does he lose close to half of it in tax like we calculated earlier for the top bracket? Not necessarily. Section 44ADA of the Income Tax Act lets certain professionals, people working in fields like consulting, design, technical services and similar specified categories, declare only 50% of what they earn as taxable income without needing to prove a single expense. So if Rohit earns 25,000 rupees extra a month this way, only around 12,500 of it even counts as taxable income. And because his total income, salary plus this, likely still sits under that 12 lakh rupee threshold we talked about, he may end up paying little to nothing extra on it. This is a legal provision, not a loophole. And whether your specific freelance work actually qualifies depends on how it's classified. That's a 10-minute conversation with a chartered accountant, not something to assume. This is exactly what Rohit does. He automates a sustainable basic savings rate instead of squeezing every last rupee out of his life. Then he spends his weekend energy differently. He picks up 2 small freelance clients and starts earning 25,000 rupees extra a month. He gets his tax structuring checked, he saves consistently, and for the first time in months, he says yes to a weekend trip with his friends. Let's put a real number on that ceiling, because this is where the long-term picture becomes obvious. Picture 2 people, each investing 20,000 rupees a month into equity mutual funds. This is purely illustrative since markets never guarantee a fixed return. Person A keeps that 20,000 static every month for 10 years at a historical average return of 12% a year. That grows to roughly 46 lakh rupees. Person B starts at the same 20,000, but because their focus is on growing income, their monthly investment goes up by about 10% every year. Same 12% return, same 10 years. That becomes roughly 65 lakh rupees. Same discipline, same starting point. The only difference is that one person's contribution had a ceiling and the other person's didn't. That's a gap of nearly 19 lakh rupees. And it only gets wider the longer you run it. Saving caps out, earning compounds. But don't swing too hard the other way, because this is where a lot of people waste the earning strategy. They start making more money and they quietly spend all of it. Their bank balance stays exactly where it was, just with a busier calendar. That's lifestyle creep, and it cancels out everything earning was supposed to give them. So here's the twist. You were never really choosing between saving and earning. You were choosing between protecting today's income and increasing tomorrow's income. Saving is defense. It protects what you already have. Earning is offense. It grows what you could have. And you need both, just not at the same time and not in equal measure. Use saving to build your flow first, a basic, sustainable rate, not an extreme one. Enough to cover an emergency, enough that one bad month doesn't break you. Fix your big costs once, your rent, your loan interest, your insurance premium, because that's where the real savings live, not in your daily coffee. Once that floor is in place, stop obsessing over saving and move almost all of your energy toward increasing your income, because that's the side with no ceiling. So who should choose option A right now and lean into saving? If your income is unstable, if you don't have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside, or if you're carrying high interest debt, saving is your priority full stop. You need the floor before you can think about the ceiling. And who should shift toward option B and start focusing on earning more? If your basic expenses are already optimized, if you have some emergency buffer in place, and you keep squeezing the same few discretionary expenses with almost nothing left to cut, that's your signal. You've hit your floor. Continuing to save harder from here has a shrinking return. Growing your income is now your highest leverage move. Here's a simple filter. If you can name 3 things you'd have to give up to save an extra 2,000 rupees this month, you've likely hit your floor. If you can't even name one, you probably still have room to optimize before shifting focus. The metric worth tracking isn't your savings percentage, it's your savings rate against your income growth rate year on year. If your income is standing still while your discipline does all the heavy lifting, that's your moment to redirect. And before you decide which path to take this month, ask yourself one honest question. Am I squeezing a number that has almost no room left to shrink, or am I avoiding a conversation, a skill, or a risk that could actually grow? The answer isn't "it depends" and stop there. It's a sequence. First, save enough to build a flow. Then put almost all of your effort toward earning more. That's the order. Get it backwards and you'll either burn out chasing savings with nothing left to cut or earn more and watch it disappear with nothing to show for it. Now, if this changed how you think about your 20,000 rupees, there's a question that comes right after it. Once that money is actually free, whether you saved it or earned it, where does it go? Because if you recently closed out a loan and now have that EMI amount sitting free in your account every month, there's a very specific mistake most people make with it. I broke down exactly what that mistake is and how to avoid it in the video linked right here. If you've recently paid off a loan, that's where you need to go next.